Continuing here. So a child can understand these two new commandments that sum up, like Jesus said, it sums up the law and the prophets. So the law, presumably, is this 10 commandments. So if you just follow these two new commandments, then everything will fall into place for you and you will please God. Okay, and a child can get this stuff. So what does it mean? It means to love others the way we've been loved and treat others the way we want to be treated. Want for others those same things we want for ourselves, because we've got a whole lot in common as human beings. We all want basically the same stuff, okay, in a lot of ways. The creature comforts and all that aspect, okay, the freedom. Okay, so it's nothing mysterious to get. So only dishonesty, intellectual dishonesty, which translates to being a liar, will make you miss the mark in this situation. So that's how simple God made it. So we're all going to be without excuse on Judgment Day, the day of reckoning, when we have to give account for all our thinking. So what are you going to do? What are you going to scramble for? Hey, well, it was because of this philosophy, this belief, the next thing. It's like I listen to Matt Bracken, and I think, he talks about, people that expect the government to do stuff for them, and the free handouts, and so he's against welfare. Well, does he talk about where this all originated, how this all got started? Does he take us back to Roosevelt, and why did Roosevelt feel compelled to establish at least Social Security for senior citizens? Why was that? What was the reason? What was going on? So why did the banksters have the power that they had to mess up our economy, to take us from true capitalism, which is free market supply and demand, and into this increase in our cost of living tax, which is theft, okay, and the debasement of the currency? And it's just slowly, it happened very slowly initially. So things weren't nearly as bad in our economy, as hopeless in our economy when Roosevelt established Social Security as they are today. Okay, they're horrible. So what are the solutions that, a guy like Matt Bracken, what does he have? Does he talk about what's driven people to socialism? I don't hear it. That he does, does he slam crony capitalists, these political sycophants whose master is really the money printing class? The Alan Greenspan. I mean, there's an antichrist, right? People look up to him. They practically worship the Fed, right? I mean, are we blaming the right people here? Don't blame the effect of the problem, okay? All I'm saying is we've got to thwart these people. We're in a lot of trouble, okay? And it takes triage. It takes desperate measures, okay? And if a basic, universal basic income is a way to skin the cat and to just immediately fix the problem, then we'll talk about all the other, why it's bad to have money given away. Hey, look, as far as I'm concerned, like I said, it's God's planet. And I believe when God has his way, has his will is established upon the earth, that it's going to be understood. There's no need for money because everything is yours. All the accumulated wealth over the years, all the people that built they're dead and gone. So all the people that built the factories, gave us the industrial age, the technology, they're dead and gone. It belongs to the living, which is all of us, right? And people say, oh, well, the capital is more, nothing gets done without capital, so the capitalists deserve all the well, why should they? Okay, when Adam Smith clearly wrote that, hey, it's the workers, a willing workforce that gets everything done. And America's never experienced a time in history when we didn't have a willing workforce. This is something Nick Begich got. He likes to call himself Dr. Nick Begich. Okay, doctor. Okay, we all know you have a lot of faith in the educational institutions. I mean, that's why people like to be addressed as doctor. Okay, but I like Nick Begich a lot, so I don't want to come down too hard on him either. But, I hear everybody's an economic expert, but they won't touch the really critical, important issues. I mean, why shouldn't we revisit 2008, the bailout thereof, and say, no, we'll negate that. Let's invalidate that. Why don't we talk about the Labor Department being deliberately, obviously, because these people have those great college educations, a lot of doctors there in the running the Labor Department, right? So why have they been totally remiss on giving appropriate, which is equivalent or commensurate, close to cost of living adjustments to minimum wage workers, okay, by federal law, so we don't have slavery? That's why you have that department. So you prevent slavery from unethical, exploitative employers, right? That would enslave people. Because a lot of people will work for peanuts, literally, to survive. So that's why you have a labor department to keep that from happening and have a minimum wage. So it's by law, because it thwarts all those unethical, those exploitative employers I'm talking about, masters. Okay, so that's how you prevent slavery. But now they've legitimized it by being remiss deliberately. They say, well, we just won't pay any attention. We're not going to do any real calculations on the real cost of living. We're not going to include housing in there. I mean, that's just too much. That's because then we know that we'd be, the employers would have a fit. They'd say, what do you mean I've got to pay my workers $40 an hour by law? Because that would be the commensurate buying power of what $1 an hour was 55 years ago. Literally, it's math. So I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not embellishing. You can do your own research. The Labor Department statistics are right there. You can research what the cost of living was. My parents bought a house for $8,000 in 1965. Do you understand? Arm's length transaction, which means it wasn't a forced sale or anything like that. It wasn't a foreclosure. That was a regular sale of just a suburban house, 2-bedroom house in suburban Santa Cruz, California. And that would take about 1/4 of your income on a minimum wage job. At calculated $1 an hour, you clear $200 a month. Maybe you might gross that and pay a little bit in taxes. And then so your mortgage would be around $50. A quarter of your income would go to pay the mortgage. So not even just renting, we're talking about paying down a house. And you could support your family. Your wife could stay home. You could, everybody had dignity, in other words. Okay, all the minimum wage workers had dignity at that time. So if you had any kind of trade at all, then you would live an upper middle class life. Okay, if you were a landscaper or carpenter or anything at all, you mechanic. So that was the state of affairs. So when it comes to making America great again, that's what I'm talking about. Getting back to that point. Okay, or working on it, fighting. That's, to me, fighting the good fight. But like I said, even if we lose the good fight, okay, know that God's will is going to be established. The good guy is going to win this battle eventually. And knowledge is like a snowball rolling down the hill. It just accumulates. So there's nothing the evildoers can do. All the establishmentarians that are opposed to profound changes coming to humanity, they're opposing God's will. They're opposing the end of the age and the coming of the new age. But it's coming. It's inevitable. And that is what it's like. Because knowledge builds on itself, right? It builds. Each generation is smarter than the last because we've got more knowledge. We've got more wisdom. There's more truth. There's more facts. There's more statistics to back up the truth. Okay? And so it builds and builds. And so it's just like a dimmer switch on a light. Okay, the room's pitch black, and the establishmentarians like it like that. But God's going to turn up that dimmer switch, and there's going to be hope, even though it's ever so faint right now. But eventually, it's going to be just blurring. It's going to, the sunshine is the best disinfectant, which exposes the evildoers, and that's what's happening. The evil ones that are opposed to God's will being established on earth, all those that are opposed to equality, for the most part. I mean, for lack of a better term, I'm talking about not forced at government hand, not making people do stuff, but if you're going to let the government give these bailouts to the criminal banksters, I mean, how is that? And then you say you're going to slam the welfare recipients and say, well, they're bad and they can't expect the government to help them. And even though this is going on, oh, fine, let the government stay out of everything then. We'll go back to homesteading. Okay, I mean, but you can't have your cake and eat it too here. You can't have it both ways. You're picking the low-hanging fruit by blaming the effect of the bankster, criminal bankster class and the political sycophants by blaming the poor, the increasing poverty, the wealth imbalance, okay, the need for social welfare. Okay, do you understand? It's just nuts, man. But I mean, it's dramatic when you think about the implications of eliminating desperate poverty through some basic universal income. Do you understand? Even to the point of traffic drying up on the LA freeway. Imagine Bay Area highways. Imagine that. I got stuck in terrible traffic. I went down on a weekday. I didn't think the traffic would be that bad. I went down to Pacifica here from Chico, and man, I mean, I was stuck in traffic for a solid probably hour and a half of the time. So it cuts into the driving time, believe me, and it's annoying, when people are stuck. in traffic, bumper to bumper, stop and go traffic. It's hard on your car, it's hard on your nerves, and it's unpleasant. You're just waiting in line, and it's unnecessary. We shouldn't have to go through this crap. But that's what it is. All this commuter traffic, people going to jobs they wouldn't need to if we didn't have desperate poverty. Okay, all these lenders. I mean, you're going to have a lot less people needing to borrow money if they're getting a basic income. Okay, so they're out of business. There's a huge layoffs in the lending industrial complex, the debt industrial complex. Okay, as people don't need loans anymore and their lenders are rendered irrelevant. You understand all the people it would piss off if you ended desperate poverty. 25% of Americans purportedly, some 25% are employed in the financial services industry to some capacity. Do you understand? Okay. How about the dubious warfare? I mean, and talk about evil. I mean, could you imagine starting a money for war? But that's what some of these generals, I mean, they're given over to Lucifer. Some of them. So a man has to do his own research. A woman has to do her own research about which wars you want to go to. Otherwise, are you going to be one of those statistics because of the remorse you feel from not being diligent enough, not being conscientious enough about the wars you went to? And then you're one of those statistics. We got 20 people a day, some 20 veterans a day taking their own lives. What the hell is going on there? And then we're gonna defend money. I mean, money. It's the biggest driver. People need, and with the military, you get all the kudos and the accolades and all that for being a valiant warrior and protecting your nation's freedoms. And who doesn't get it? Every man gets it, and a lot of women get it. We all want those. We all want to be the brave warrior. I'll be the brave warrior. I'm going to do my research first. And as soon as I find out what Hitler was up to, I'm down. I'll pay. You don't have to conscript me. I'll go pay to kick Hitler's ass. That'd be a great joy. Or any other tyrant like him. Sure, yes, sign me up, man. You understand? So enormous sums of money would be saved if you just ended desperate poverty through a universal basic income, and it'd be just dramatically cheaper. Your taxes would go down dramatically. They'd have to. How could they not? So the debt industrial complex. Imagine all the layoffs. Imagine the national debt disappearing overnight. Imagine that. Just imagine. That's what we could have tomorrow. Very short order. But it'd be traumatic. Oh, wow. Just imagine the criminal industrial complex, a kinder, safer, gentler community. We've had a rash of armed robberies around here in Chico. I mean, there must have been 5 or 6 lately. I mean, they're going to get this guy, but he's going to get his 3 hots and a cot one way or another. That's probably what's in his mind. See, they don't give a crap about me. There's no hope. I mean, there's all these needy people, and now there's vast sums more with the car fire and the camp fire and all these needy people. The social welfare services are inundated and overwhelmed. I mean, what hope is there for me when you get desperately poor at the bottom? Down on your luck. What do you do? So you understand how that would be thwarted. So instead of somebody saying, "I got to turn to crime by necessity to survive," what won't a man do to survive? Okay, that's a huge list. So. No, that's a short list. The things he won't do, the things he will do to survive. Now that's a broad list, okay. But when it comes to survival, I mean, the sky's the limit. So yes, plenty of people commit crimes in order to survive, to get those 3 hots and a cot. So that's something you just gotta consider as the truth. So people opposed to basic income. You understand all the things they're opposing. They're opposing abortion. Okay, for one thing, very few women would get abortions if they were made to feel financially secure. Okay, so you're opposed to stopping abortion, even if you say you're against abortion. You're opposed to convenience store clerks getting shot in the face over a few bucks. That's your fault, basically. You're opposed to getting rid of the national debt. Okay, you're opposed to laying off countless banksters. You're opposed to laying off countless social welfare workers. You're opposed to laying off countless jailers and workers in the criminal industrial complex. You're opposed to laying off countless of people that are in the dubious warfare industrial complex. Do you understand? That's what I'm telling you. It's your fault. basically by you rejecting that without any more viable solution to skinning the cat and getting it done immediately, doing triage and saying, that's it, man. Everybody, 18 on, once your parents, you're out from under the wing of your parents, you're under the wing of we the people. Okay, that's the only legitimate government. So when I hear Matt Bracken saying people expecting the government to do everything for them and they're like socialists, without he's getting there, you open a can of worms into an economic discussion. Let's talk about what's turning people socialist. We're not going to have that discussion. I myself am a registered Republican, and I consider myself a staunch fiscal conservative. Okay, I want progress. I'm a true progressive.